Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as I promised, I'll be answering your questions on video. So this is the time. I have 5 minutes here to get to my destination, so I've decided to take this time to answer to all your questions. Now, what I have here, there are 17 pages. 17 pages of your questions. Printed them out. And what is happening is that, of course, I won't be able to answer all of them, but I want to thank all of you for participating and for supporting us, encouraging us, and all that. We're very grateful. In this session, I think what I'll do maybe in the future, I will be able to answer more of the questions and get down to all the issues here. You have asked questions about, of course, my father, His Excellency President Amin. You have also asked about the issues concerning governance in Uganda. You have also asked questions about labor in Congo. Questions even about Ukraine and the wars that are going on there. I hope I get time to answer everything for you. So in the meantime, I think let me start with one of them here. This is a question by one Jagenda Abdul Nasur, who asks, why is it that you and others from your family support someone who hates your father the most to the extent of calling him swine? Come and participate in top country politics, please. So that is the question number one. Thank you for asking. The issue of insulting people, I call them utterances, it's a mentality that people have. I am trying to see how best to say it. I can call this, well, he is entitled to his opinion, but we also have to understand that some of these opinions are intentional. It's very common. People who are trying to get someone to hate, to be hateful. Let me cross the road here before I get into some accent. People are trying to get someone to be hateful. They say certain things just to, annoy you or something like that. If you fall into that trap, of course, you get annoyed as well and get into some quarrels, which, of course, are not productive. So that behavior, it's very common around. People say things intentionally to try and harm or hurt someone via certain insults. But then, in the end, it's not really important. Some of these things, dwelling on them does not advance anyone, nor the country. So we leave it to that. I think the person who insulted us gets a lot of insults himself. So maybe he having to deal with a lot of things and things we are an outlet for. I don't know. Anyway, we better leave it to that. The second question I have here is regarding the special expulsion of Asians under British? It's an important question. It's a very important question, but it goes way beyond what we normally know. What is there is this. When His Excellency President Idi Amin was titled Conqueror of the British Empire, that was a culmination of a policy and the results of that policy. It started way back before he was president, when the people of Uganda, before even independence, were calling out for, of course, their country and asking for the British to leave Uganda. The British and what was seen as their cronies, that's what the Asian would say, because as we all know, they were brought here by the British, they were brought to South Africa by the British. At the time, after World War II, I think the British realized that the Ugandan population was against this colonization that was going on in their country, and they were demanding that the British and their cronies leave the country. I think it was the governor at the time who remarked that there seems to be increasing, let's say, friction between the local population and the Asians, particularly in Uganda. And that is why he came up with what is called the Immigration Act of 1948, I think, yes, 1948. That was the first act enacted here by the British government, British colonial government. Yes. And in that act, they are the first people to put down the issue of expulsion of Asians. The British government, I repeat it clearly, wanted to expel the Asians from Uganda in 1948 in a colonial bill called the Immigration Act. I think it's the Immigration Act number 2 or 3, something like that. Someone should look it up in the records. So, as Ugandans were asking the British to leave their country, the British were trying to expel the Asians instead so that they can stay a little bit longer. You know? Sort of like divert all the blame to the Asians and all that. However, the Indian government itself stood ground and opposed this, and that bill was quashed. I think about a month or two ago, the Monitor wrote about it, and extensively, I think, so it can be there. Then Uganda got its independence in 1962, and so there was an issue of the British having to leave, and the question was, what do they do about the Asians who they had brought to Uganda? So, in order, what they did is they gave them British passports so they became British citizens, and they gave Uganda its independence. and abandoned these Asians in Uganda to their fate, basically, and the British left. But having given them British passports, they were British citizens. Of course, a lot of other British citizens, the real, let's say, the real white Britons also remained in Uganda at the time. Many did remain, though some did leave the country. Yes. So what happened, when you try and cross this road safely before you get into trouble here? So what happened is that the Ugandans did not stop there asking for the British and their cronies and Asians and all that to leave the country. It continued. So the East African countries got together and asked for it, because it wasn't just Uganda alone, it was also the Kenyans and the Tanzanians who were asking the British to leave and the Asians to leave. The British to leave with the Asians. So Jomo Kenyatta, Nyerere, and Milton Obote, who was Prime Minister of Uganda at the time, met and discussed the way forward. And in that discussion, what happened is that they decided to go ahead with the expulsion. This was in 1968. This was in 1968. So when this happened, it was the Kenyans and the Tanzanians who started conducting the expulsion of Asians from East Africa. They had an agreement, the three countries, but Kenya and Tanzania decided to go ahead. Milton Obote chickened out of that, though he did organize some form of repatriation of a few of them. About 500 per month were leaving. That was the agreement he had. And those ones, there was what you call mass expulsion of 120,000 from Kenya, about the same number from Tanzania, and they did go. They were repatriated. They were expelled from East Africa to Britain, mainly. You won't hear that a lot. There's a lot of politics in this because they're trying to make, essentially, make it first of all as if it was a crime, and secondly to make one person be responsible for it. So that's what was going on. In 1971, His Excellency Field Marshal Amin takes over the government. As I have written a lot about it, it was something that he wasn't really interested in. He was actually put at gunpoint, and the coup happened as part of a backlash to a very tribalistic plot that was happening at the time, and the purge that was going to happen in the military and in the government, quite illegally and quite brutally, is what the counter coup was trying to quash when it ended up deposing the president, then Milton Obote, in 1971, January 25th. So that is that. In 1971, what happened is that the Ugandan people continued to ask for the expulsion of the Asians, and so it had to be found a way had to be found to implement that policy. Much as President Obote had agreed to it in paper, in fact, part of his the common man's, how do you call it, the common man's pacts that he had written included the issue of expulsion of Asians. And so when 1972 came, President Idi Amin decided to now implement all these things because the pressure was mounting from the population. It was quite a difficult time, but the pressure was mounting, so he had to go ahead and implement it. And it was the expulsion of the Asians, the British, and the Israelis. So those three groups were expelled from Uganda with the option that if they want to stay, they should they could take up Ugandan citizenship. So a few of them did so, and that's what happened at the time. It's a few of them had to take their citizenship and remained in Uganda and continued the business. Others left. There is a question in the question. Someone asked, what was the criteria for awarding the businesses to Ugandans? The criteria was very simple. It was anybody who was interested in a business had to apply for it. So you write an application, and associated with that application, you have to put a business plan. Yes, and then all of that would be monitored by the clerks at the Ministry of Finance, which was in charge of all these properties. And then they would look at one's application. They would also look at one's business plan, what the person intended to do with the business, and if it went well, and they gave the business completely free. It's amazing how a lot of people got properties like that. So that was the criteria behind that. It was an application and a business plan. Yes. Now, after the expulsion of the Asians and the British, because it was actually the British who are the main, because all these Asians had British passports, they were British citizens, so we expelled the British from Uganda, and that is how His Excellency President Idi Amin Dada was titled Conqueror of the British Empire, in Uganda in particular, and in Africa in general, because he did some groundwork on that as well. Thank you.